All right, here we go. Chapter 7 test. The different classes had different tests. It was actually the same questions, but the answers were scrambled. So on your particular test, you may see that you put a different letter, but you're looking for the number that's correct. All right, I think the one I'm doing right now was the one that first hour did. So if you're in 5th or 7th, your letters won't match, but your numbers will. All right, let's get right after it. Number 1, solving a proportion. I'm going to cross multiply and get 54, and then I'll get 7a minus 14. Adding 14 to both sides, I will get 68. And dividing both sides by 7 goes in there 9 and 5/7. So correct answer there is going to be 9.71. Next problem, number 2, similar idea. So I have 4x, I have 3x, and minus the 6. So on this one, I would subtract the 3x from both sides, and I get x equals -6. Okay. Number 3, the polygons are similar. Find the missing side length. So here we need to find sides that are proportional to each other. The missing side length is right here. I'm going to just name that x. And it looks like the one that goes with that is this piece. So if I do little over big, or you could do big over little, but if I do little over big, there's that proportion. Now I need to find another side that matches. I see a 40 goes with this 32. So since I did little over big, I'm going to do little over big, or you could think of it as left over right in the figures. And we cross multiply, and I'll get 32x equals, that's going to be 800, maybe 1120. And divided by 1120, the correct answer here is 35. So x equals 35. All right, moving right along. Number 4. Similar idea. We need to solve for x. Now we have an expression though. So I have the bottom and the bottom. Those two are a pair. So whoever you want to put on top, I'm going to keep going the small figure over the larger figure. And then I need to find a matching side. I'm going to use the 15 and the 12. I'm not sure, like for instance, I know that this side matches with this side, but I'm not positive if that 32 goes with the 41.5. It doesn't look like it. So I don't think I could set those two up. So I'm going to use the 12 and the 15. And we start working through this. 12 35s, that's 350 plus 70 would be 420. 60x plus 60. Minus 60 from both sides will give me 360, and 36 divided by 6 is 6 if I get rid of the 0. So the correct answer here is B. Now again, if you weren't sure how to do the algebra, you could always just start trying numbers. So here's kind of an alternate way. Let's say that I want to try A. If I plug A in here, that would be 4 times 9 is 36 plus 4. That would make this side 40. Well, right away I see a problem. You're bigger and you're smaller, or you're smaller and you're bigger. Yeah, up here, this is the little side and this is the big side. That just can't happen. So right away, that would eliminate the 9, the 12, and the 11, just because that would all make the side too big. All right? And you could then try the other two to see if the ratios are the same. So some kids are kind of using that scale factor model to do their problems. Moving along, number 5. 5 says, and I got to be careful here who goes with who, and I'm going to use the letters up above. This is called a similarity statement. All right, I'm going to use that similarity statement. So I know that NM goes with NS. So NM is this piece, NS is that piece. So those two go together. So I'm going to set up the left triangle over the right triangle. And now I got to find another piece. For instance, TN must go with LN. So that would be a 4 and a 28. And there's a couple ways to do this. Right now I can kind of see that, this got multiplied by 7. So this needs to get multiplied by 7. So the answer is going to be 4. But you also could just go ahead and cross multiply. You get 28x equals, what's that, 80 and 32 is 112. Divide, divide, and you'll also get x equals 4, setting it up that way. All right, next problem, number 6, says UVW, similar to GFE. So UV is the first side, and that corresponds with GF, which is this side. So if I do a little over a big, I have 6 over x. And then it looks like EG goes with WU. So that's a 10 to 20. And again, you probably don't even need a proportion on this one, because you can see that that red side doubled. It got 10 times bigger. Or not 10 times, it got 2 times bigger. So this 6 has to double. I already know the answer is going to be 12, but we could do the proportion. 10x equals 120, x equals 12. Next problem, number 7. Similar idea here. So DEF, so let's see what numbers we have. It looks like my question mark, my x, which is DF, is going to go with DR. So those two go together. So little over big. And then my DQ, Dairy Queen, DQ goes with DE. So there's my 12 and my 40. And we cross multiply. And I get 12x equals 600. Divide, divide. And I get x equals 50. Here we go. All right, moving along, number 8. Now we're getting into the side splitter theorem. So the side splitter, if you want to look that up in your notes, that's kind of the theorem that we use here. And a couple different ways to do this. Using the side splitter theorem, we can basically do, so if I look at this bottom piece right here is 16. All right. Well, they told me that E to L was 8. So going 16 minus 8 will give me this other piece. So those two, even though it doesn't really look like it, those two are exactly the same, which means that the sides get split proportionally. So if this is 9, that means this piece also has to be 9. Now, I know it doesn't look like it. It actually looks like it's smaller, and there were really no good answers that look smaller here. So all of those answers were kind of, oh, actually, it's not 9. I almost screwed that up. So the correct answer is not 9, because we want to figure out how big this is. So it's 9 plus 9, which is going to give me an answer of 18. So if you picked B, you kind of understood the side splitter part, but you just kind of didn't finish the problem like I almost did. All right, number 9, we have EFG and ELM. So let's kind of put these dudes together. So we have F to E, and then we have, that goes with E to L. So I'm going to do left over right. And then I'm assuming this ML is the 10. So FG is the 20. And again, couple different, you could use algebra. You could also just say, hey, this doubled. So this 5 needs to double and be 10. And what x will give me 10? It's when x equals 5. If you cross multiply, you get 100. 10x plus 50. Take away 50 from both sides. And divide by 10, and you'll have x equals 5. All right, number 10. So this one's kind of a classic side splitter. So the idea here is that I have piece is to piece should be the same as this one is to this one. Maybe I'll put a, just because they're in the same like section in there. So this is a little bit tricky how you set it up. You got to be kind of careful. This piece over here, if the total is 42, so the total is 42, and this side is 18, you can subtract those numbers and get 24 over here. So I have a ratio of 18 to 24 on the red side. And then on the blue side, I got to be kind of careful because I have a 5x and I don't have anything. So I got to do the total minus the 5x. So I have 35 minus 5x, and that will give me 5x over 35 minus 5x. And now I got some work to do. I got 120x equals, well, that's 350 minus 70, so that's going to be 280. Subtract 50 and 40, that's 90x. Add the 90x to both sides. Let me make sure I did this right. So that's, no, this, I got this number wrong right here. Hold on. Check that. That is 700 minus 70, so that's 630. I'm like, something's going on here. So that was 630. So I add 90x to both sides, and I get 210x equals 630. Divide, and you get x equals 3. Now, there's another way to do it. Some of you may have done it a different way if that algebra kind of loses you. You could also break it up a little bit separately and do this. You could kind of do this small triangle. All right, so if I redraw that over here, I have a 9, I have an 18, and I have a 5x. And then if you focus on the large triangle, kind of draw that over here. You have 35, and you have 42, and you have 21. That might be a little bit easier of a setup. So now I could just pick some sides, and I could do like maybe these two. So I could do little over big equals little over big. And we should end up getting the exact same answer when we work that one out. It's because you pretty much end up with the same numbers. You get 210x equals 630, divide. So that might have been an easier setup, not 30, sorry, but 3. That might have been an easier setup than the side splitter, just separating the two similar triangles. All right, number 11. Again, so it's kind of your call how you want to set it up. I think the easiest way is I see a ratio in the sides. I see a 4 to an 8. So this squiggly side is double that side. So up here, this side, 5, the squiggly side needs to be double that, which is 10. And now 5 plus 10 gives me a total of 15. That's probably the most straightforward and easiest way to do it. If you really wanted to use hardcore algebra setup, you could say, well, let's call this x, the total minus the piece, x minus 5. And then you'd have to set it up, you know, piece to piece, piece to piece. And you could do the algebra on that, and you'll get the same answer of 15. You get 40 equals 4x minus 20. Add 20 to both sides, and you get x equals 15. So either way, whatever floats your boat. All right, next one. So right away, I see that this total over here is 5, so that means that's a 2. So now I have 3 and 2 over here. And I got to come up with that same ratio. Now, if you notice right now, if the blue side is 5 and the red side is 10, it's double. So when you kind of move up this little stream here, these people have to be double. That's going to keep the same ratio going. So the correct answer here is 6. Now, if you wanted more hardcore algebra, you weren't happy with that, you still need to get the 2. You would need to call this x, and you need to call this piece 10 subtract x, and then you could set it up however you want. You could do like 3 over 2 is x over 10 minus x, and I'm not going to do the math, but you'll still get the same answer. Number 13. So we have an angle bisector one here. So the angle bisector breaks it up a little bit differently. Angle bisector splits it up to where you have a side and then a piece that got split up. And then you have a side and a piece that got split up. So that's usually how I like to set mine up. So let's kind of do this. I don't know what question mark is, so I'm going to call it X. The blue side is the total minus the piece. And now we can kind of set this thing up, and we can do full side over the piece equals full side over the piece. And then we can cross multiply. And again, there's always multiple ways to do this, but this was just the way that I saw it while I'm sitting here rocking this out. Add 15x to both sides. I get 25x equals 300. So I like to think about money. How many quarters does it take to go into $3? And it takes 12 quarters to make $3. Correct answer is A. All right, if you did not know how to do the algebra, try some numbers. All right, so let's just say, well, first of all, two of these numbers cannot be. If you put 20 in here, that means this side has to be 0, which is impossible. 25 could not work because this side, if this side's 25, that's already bigger than the total. So those are two numbers that just, you should be able to eliminate and at least get it down to 3. Let's say that you try 10. Say you're trying this one. If you put 10 here, that forces a 10 here, and now you have these two are the same and these two are different. Can't be you. So let's say that maybe you try 15. All right, let's say you come down here and like, let me try 15. If this is 15, this is 5. Well, now you have a situation where this is half of that, but this is not half of that. So there's kind of a way to just work your way through and try answers and eliminate what doesn't work. All right, apologize, had to take a quick phone call. So we move on to the next one, number 14. This was the one that I think when I graded the most people missed. So let me kind of rock this one out, and I'm going to show you what happened to people. And it actually happened to me too. I had to start plugging answers in because I wasn't really sure about my algebra. But so you have this breakdown, this angle breakdown. So you have the full piece, and then you have the full side and then the piece. Then you have the full side and then the piece. All right. Well, what you need to do is, and this is where people kind of messed up, when you put your answer right here, you have the total minus the red piece. Now, unfortunately, I just did the algebra right there, and don't write this down because this is wrong, but I ended up getting 21 minus the 1, and I ended up getting this. And when I used that as the piece, it didn't work, and I kept getting decimals, and it was driving me crazy. But then I remembered, hey, when you do the total minus this piece, you actually have to put it in parentheses because you're minusing that whole quantity. And whenever you minus a parentheses, you need to pretend there's a negative 1 there and distribute. So it's actually 21 minus 2x plus 1, which should have given you 22 minus 2x. All right, so that was the correct setup. That was kind of tough. I didn't see that right away. So I'm going to work it out that way, but then I'm going to show you what I ended up doing. So then you can go 10 over 22 minus 2x, and then you can go 25 over 2x minus 1. No big deal. We did these in the algebra review section, so I know you can handle it. 20x minus 10. 22 quarters, that would be $4.50 minus 50x. I'm going to add 50x to both sides, which is going to give me 70x's. I'm going to add this 10 to the other side, which is going to give me 460. And did I do that right? No, I didn't do that right. Doggone it. See, not using a calculator sometimes bites me in the butt. Sorry, makes me tougher. So 22 quarters is actually 20 quarters. Would be 5, looks like 550. There we go. I don't know why I thought that. 550, so this would be 560, divide. So that's going to be 8. So the correct answer here comes out to be 8. Now, that's not what I did. That's what I did after I finished the test, and I went back and like, why wasn't my algebra working on that one? So let me show you the actual method that I used and show you kind of how I cheated the problem. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to start trying numbers, and I had the numbers, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 10. I always like to start with a middle number, so that way I know if I need to go bigger or smaller. So I stuck a 7 in for x. And when I put 7 in right here, 2 times 7 is 14, take away 1, that gives me a piece of 13, which made this piece 8. And then I just checked the ratios. I said, well, is 10 to 8, is that equal to 25 to 13? And I knew right away it wasn't, because this is about half of that, and this is way bigger than half of that. But when you do the decimals, you get like 1.25, and over here you get like almost 2, like 1.8 or 9. I'm not even going to write it down or put it in my calculator, but you know that they're different. So that told me 7 was wrong, and that kind of wiped out 3 and 5, because I knew that it wasn't going to work out. It was going to be the wrong size. So then I tried 8. And when I put 8 in there, I come over and I said, well, let's stick 8 in here. 2 times 8, 16, minus 1, that's 15. And if this is 21 and this is 15, that makes him 6. So now I said, well, what about 10 to 6? Is that equal 25 to 15? And if you divide it on your calculator, you'll find out it's equal. You can also whittle these fractions down and get 5/3, and over here you can get 5/3, so that you know that they're equal to each other. So that was a way that I battled when my algebra kind of went screwy. All right, number 15. So it looks like another side splitter here. So looking at the right side, I have 16, take away 12, so that'll give me 4. Over here, depending on how I want to do it, I could set it up as 20 minus x to at least have a name for that piece. So if you just want to do it traditional, you could set it up, 20 minus x, which is this part, over this piece, equals 12 over 4. So that's one way. It might even be easier to, well, I don't know, I guess that this would be the way to just do it. Let's just keep going here. 12x equals 80 minus 4x. Add the 4x to both sides, and you get 16x. Divide by 16. Looks like x equals 5. Let's just see if that makes sense here. So if I put a 5 in there, that would make a 15 here. And yeah, 3 times bigger, 3 times bigger. So the correct answer is 5. And last but not least, number 16, some parallel lines. Looking here, I see a 3 to 2. Well, over here I see a 4. So 3 is to 2 as what is to 4. So this might be a little place where you might want to just call it y. I also just see that 2 is half of 4, so 3 is half of 6. And you can kind of get the answer really quick that way. But you could set up with y as well. Let's roll with the 6. Once I have the 4 and the 6, this adds up to 10. And then we solve the equation. Add 6 to both sides, you'll get 16. Divide both sides, and you will get x equals 8. So the correct answer there is 8. All right, hopefully this helps you. You can use this on the retake. See you.